Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of the Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Texas Hill Country fishing report with Greg Welander of Upstream on the Fly. How you doing, Greg?
Well, hi, Marvin. I'm doing great, and the fish seem to be doing well too.
Well, that's good because the hurricane ripped through here and dumped a lot of water, so things are just starting to get back to normal in the Mid-Atlantic.
Oh, I hate to hear that. Water in Texas in the fall is not a good thing. It really ruins the fall fishing. So we've not had the hurricanes or the high amount of rain. So we've been lucky and been able to get on the river and get some fishing in. So, we're a couple days into the month of November, and October had finished off with some of our coolest weather here in Central Texas for the fall timeline. And we had our strong cold front back on Monday, October 26th. And I was actually out on the water guiding a couple females anglers that day. But they knew the weather was going to change, so everybody was prepared. But our temperatures, they've been in the 50s for highs and kind of been working up in the 60s. And currently we're seeing some 70s with a forecasted 80s coming up in another handful of days. Our overnight low temperatures, which is a key thing this time of year, had been running in the 40s, but we have hit the upper 30s in some of the outlying areas. So the water temperatures needed a little bit of cooling, and it definitely has happened. But like no rain, the rain's coming out your way, Marvin. So we haven't had the rain to muddy up the waters, and that's a good thing. We're having clear water. So in today's fishing report, I'm just going to be talking about the Lower Colorado, which is east of Austin, Texas, and that's the only water that I'm currently guiding on. And reasons for that is because the river is in ideal conditions right now. So your bigger bass are out there in that river, so that's where I'm spending my time. And let's talk about the Loco, which has been perfect in regards to the river flow. The flows coming out of the dam has not been a lot. We've been running around 190 to 200 CFS at most. And the water clarity is very good for that river. And that's as a result of us not having the rain. And fall fishing has been strong on the Loco. The fish are still responding to top waters on the warmer days or later in the afternoon on the cooler starts that we've been experiencing in the mornings. But the subsurface streamer bite has been the strongest. My clients are still catching more Guadalupe bass than largemouth bass right now. And I'm starting to see bigger Guadalupe bass, which is a result of the cooler weather we've had over the last week. One of my clients had caught a couple big channel catfish. I mean, we're talking one after the other, and both of these fish were in the 5-pound class weight. But the interesting thing about the catfish is they were caught out of the same spot on back-to-back casts. And, after landing the first one, it was a female angler. She hooked up with a second one, and she just immediately knew it had to be another catfish because, it didn't come flying out of the water like a bass would. And she had her 7-weight bend over, and I thought for a few minutes I was going to have to get up and grab the rod and help her out because I think she was tired of messing with those river cats. They do put up a fight. The reason I had mentioned that was I'd been talking about, the strong cold front that had come in back on Monday, October 26th. Well, it was about 12:35 p.m. in the afternoon, to be exact. Fishing had improved. It actually started getting better for the next 3 hours. And, then after that, it was like all we wanted to do was make it to the truck and get out of the environment. We had strong winds and dropping temperatures, and we did have all the apparel. We were dressed, but it just started wearing on us. And, when I got into the truck on that Monday afternoon, it was about 52 degrees and the wind was out of the north at 20. So it felt, it was in the low 40s as far as wind chill go. And, we started that day out in the 80s, just a couple, 2-3 hours earlier. And, this time of year, it's very important, for all the listeners out there to be prepared for your weather changes. Always have layering, bring your rain jacket, bring your winter outerwear jacket, and, have a couple layers, whether it's a fleece vest or a heavy flannel shirt, because when the weather changes and you're out on the river, it can make for a cold afternoon or even morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that, because I think this time of year is always the toughest gear time, because you always end up carrying the most stuff with you because you don't know what you're going to get on the water.
You know what? That's exactly right, Marvin. With being in fly fishing, a lot of us are gearheads or oriented to stuff, right? And I always have my rain jacket. I've always got a kind of a mid-weight outerwear. And then I'll have a fleece vest of sorts, and I'll layer up. But there's days that I bring all this stuff and kind of wished I had wore shorts in the day. Yeah. Let's talk about tips and techniques about the Colorado River right now. Streamers are strong for sure, and it's all about shad and crayfish. For your subsurface fly patterns, and that can be, bass aren't picky, big deceivers. I like tying a fly called the bushwhacker. And then there's, the lunch moneys, the Murdich minnows, the little micro game changers. All those flies are all working, I say, evenly, on the same keel. There's not one better than the other, but the key I've noticed is there's got to be white in this pattern. So as long as it's got a white belly and, it could be chartreuse or olive or gray on the back, that doesn't really matter as much. But as long as you've got white, it seems to be working. And that's for your shad patterns. The crayfish pattern is also strong right now. And that's, your variations of orange, okay? Whether it's burnt orange or bright orange, and it doesn't seem to matter. It's that's on the bass's menu right now, and we're using 7 and 8 weight fly rods, so we're able to throw the bigger fly patterns. Basically hook sizes 1/0 down to size 2. So the thing about a bass is they got a big mouth, so you don't need to be going with small little hooks. And we still have a topwater bite. The topwater bite has kind of shifted more into the afternoon since we've had cooler starts in the morning. And, standard, double barrel poppers, on a size 2 hook have been working well. One of my favorite patterns that is no longer professionally tied, and that's called pucker lips. Pucker lips was a umpqua fly that mimicked a bait fish of sorts, and it didn't have the deeper pop sound as, say, your double barrel. It had more of a spitting action. So on some days that was what was wanted from fish. But your poppers, anything from a 1/0 down to size 4, deer hair sliders, are all working in the warmer times of the day and in the warmer afternoons. So there we have it, Marvin, a great start to November in the Texas Hill Country.
Well, that's awesome. And, folks, we love questions on the articulate fly. If you'll email them to us or send them to us on our Instagram or our Facebook page, if we read your question, I'll send you some articulate fly swag, and you're going to get into a drawing for some cool stuff from Greg at the end of the season. And Greg, before I let you hop, why don't you let folks know where they can find you so they can book you and fish with you this fall?
Well, sure. You can go to my website, which is upstreamonthefly.com. And you can find me on social media, both on Instagram and Facebook under Upstream on the Fly.
Well, there you go. Well, listen, folks, you owe it to yourself. November is a great month to get on the water in the hill country. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Greg.
Tight lines, Marvin.